what makes us unique and very different today is we sit on a plethora of market data. And that data includes everything from the products and services that consumers in market purchase today, all the way down to the feedback that consumers are giving on those products and services.
Welcome to How to Grow Using AI, Machine Learning, and Intelligent Automation, a podcast by eClerks. We explore how AI and machine learning are being used to scale businesses from end to end. But that's not all. In each episode, our industry experts dive deep into topics like AI-enabled sales optimization, predictive analytics, AI-powered marketing, and machine learning for product personalization. I promise to give you the goods, the insights, and the strategies that you need to grow your business. I am your host, Nicholas Cole. Today I have joining me Frank Pica. He is the CEO and co-founder of Native AI. Native AI, it clones your target customers so that you can innovate, build, and sell faster. So today we're going to discuss generative AI and AI in general. But before we get into that, Frank, why don't you let us know just a little bit more about yourself and Native AI?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the warm intro, Nicholas. I'm excited to be here, tell a little bit of our story. And also you gave me Pica, my Kappa Picasso. So almost there. So yeah, giving a little background, I started my career in ML, machine learning. Actually jumped into a company and started one right out of college, not for the faint of heart. And we grew that business into a business that was generating tens of millions of dollars annually, and was lucky enough to then jump to another company and spearhead their AI initiative and launch in the US market. And luckily that company exited for a nice six figures. So Native was kind of started as an amalgamation of those experiences and kind of what we were seeing in market. And I would say more critically, how we could leverage AI and those technologies to solve for major pain points in the market today for some of our biggest customers.
So you mentioned leveraging AI. So obviously over the past year or so, generative AI, there's been a big explosion, a lot of interest in that area. People are excited about it. And so could you give us an idea what makes native AI different using those technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were lucky in some regard, a lot of time to think about leveraging AI in ways that address true use cases and pain points the market is actually seeing. And so from that sense, we were blessed. We were a little early, so that comes with its own pain. But what makes us unique and very different today is we sit on a plethora of market data. And that data includes everything from the products and services that consumers in market purchase today, all the way down to the feedback that consumers are giving on those products and services. And so with that as a foundation, we were able to train a custom model that allowed us to go out and actually clone those individuals on a one-to-one basis. So in other words, Nicholas, I think you got good taste. You dressed nicely today, but if you were buying blazers and left feedback on the latest blazer, we would actually have a data points, anonymous, of course. We wouldn't know it's actually Nicholas, but we could recreate you in an experience that felt like ChatGPT, but talking specifically to Nicholas. And so for that reason, we've really carved out a niche in the market, but it's a pretty large niche. So everybody in the market today does research on their customers. You want to know them better. You want to leverage what they know about those individuals to sell them products that actually they desire and need. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of unique value in the marketplace today.
Fascinates me. I mean, just to even imagine that happening, it just kind of blows my mind a little bit. And so you talk about cloning. And so the concept of digital twin has kind of been out there for a while, kind of slowly evolved. It took a little time to get to where we are today. Could you explain what role did generative AI play in that? And also, how does that play out with the native AI?
Certainly. Yeah. So, you touched on something that was quite heavy for me originally. And I was like, what the hell do we call this? Digital twin. And so to your point, digital twins have actually been around for a while. They're just typically a representation of a physical object or like a non-cognitive entity, if you will. So we've seen them in warehouses, we've seen them in supply chain. And so a lot of the original digital twin use is kind of what inspired our company to go out and say, well, look, if we could make a clone virtually of a warehouse or supply chain, why couldn't we do that of a human being or a cognitive, right, entity. And so that's essentially how digital twins were born. Building off what you said about the data, again, we found ourselves in like a very, very lucky place where generative AI's purpose for us, and this was actually before it was called Gen AI, by the way. That's how long, we've been R&Ding and using this, was to give a mouthpiece to that data. So we had a lot of data on consumers and market. We didn't have a great way for that data to speak back to our user. And so that was actually the original R&D project, was could we make our platform talk back to the user and kind of shortcut, right, to that insight or that finding they were looking for from a target audience or a target market.
I want to get down to the nitty gritty here. So we're talking about generative AI. There's some main things we really want to do. As an organization, I want to do three main things, okay? I want to be more productive. I want to be more efficient, and I want to make some more money. And so at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's what we're talking about. And so how does generative AI, this new technology, and also native AI, how does that play out?
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to touch on kind of two ways that we speak about Gen AI to our partners and, how it's impactful. But one is like that bottom line approach, right? How do we become more efficient? And I think for the most part, the industry has a lot of use case there already. We can talk about things, and Nicholas, you might hate this, but like copywriting. So how do we create copy faster, more efficiently? And we all know that ChatGPT can say some funny things, but in reality, it can be quite effective for creating tons and tons of copy really quickly. And so that would be a great example of potential low-hanging fruits if a business or a partner wanted to leverage generative AI for efficiency. I believe that has enormous impact. And I think so does the rest of the market. What's more fascinating to me, and I think to a lot of the companies that we are speaking with at a very high level, is how does this grow my top line? What new value to the market can we add? And so I think those areas are interesting. They're also a little more risky. And so again, as we talk about the adoption of AI, where it will find itself, integrate itself into market and companies today, there's kind of that low hanging fruit bucket and efficiency bucket, which is awesome. But then the kind of moonshot, right, or holy grail of the scenario is, can we use Gen AI to drive net new revenue or net new value to our clients, right, or to even consumers and market? And so that's what's been really fascinating to see where companies are exploring and also come up with a few use cases of our own on how we can grow some top line.
So you mentioned places where organizations are exploring. And so what are some obstacles that organizations have faced when implementing generative AI?
Certainly. I think one that is abundantly clear at this point would be security. We've seen numerous, right, cases at this point where generative AI has exposed information that otherwise probably wouldn't have, or it has responded or given an output in a way that wasn't up to a market's or a company's standards. And so that one is top of the list, I think, for most companies as they look to integrate AI as a challenge. I think there are some really good ways around it. And so most of the ways that we've seen today is building these private models. And you can use existing models as a foundation, but ultimately where these companies are leveraging Gen AI in a safe and kind of overcoming that security hurdle is they're using their own data and their own value proposition to market. And generative AI is just another tool in a toolkit to make that a much better offering. So that's one hurdle. The other is simply workflow. So we've seen generative AI in applications like ChatGPT fit really well, right, for someone who actually knows how to handle the technology and knows how to engage with the technology. It is an extremely different story when you're talking about integrating that product across thousands of different roles in an organization, all with different workflows and all with different purposes. And so that's another big challenge. And I would say this probably is the first true year that we're going to see major corporations attempt to do that. We're going to have some oopsies along the way, but it's an exciting time nonetheless.
So you mentioned several things there. You mentioned the hurdles. You mentioned that this year, first time, you got to see organizations doing some things. And so there was a recent report that was done by the Wall Street Journal, and they mentioned how organizations have been excited about generative AI, imagine the possibilities. But last year, they really didn't see the return on investment. And so this year, moving forward, many organizations are looking for their return on investment. So when we think about that, Think about generative AI as a whole and also what you're doing over there at Native AI. Can you talk to us a little bit about what can organizations expect when it comes to their return on investment?
Certainly. And I think this comes down to time and market. So we, like I said, had the luxury or got lucky, however you want to phrase it, of kind of being in before in. And so when we have approached the market, we come with very specific use cases. And those use cases come in tandem with measurable results and ROI. And so that's one thing, toot our own horn a little bit, right? That because we haven't tried to take on the world with Gen AI and we focus in on a few use cases, we've done tremendously well in showing and measuring ROI. I can give you another good story with one of our clients that there's this kind of the flip side of that. And that is everybody knows that the technology is going to be useful, but they were actually using OpenAI and they wanted to just integrate essentially 120, it was like 120 plus seats across the organization, marketing, finance, various different departments, all with different use cases and functions. And when you get into that type of scale that quickly, I think it's very, very easy for an organization and the provider of that technology to lose sight on how those KPIs are measured and how ROI is actually measured and improved. And so this is, I think, a scenario of like, you should probably crawl before you walk and you should certainly walk before you run. And you're going to see that a lot with the big boys because there's just so much budget up for grabs that they're jumping in with 2 feet and no real plan from the top down, but everybody's excited and the excitement's created a little bit of chaos there.
Yeah, I like it. You mentioned the big boys. And so they got me thinking of wondering, so is native AI, is it just for the big boys? Is it an enterprise solution or the small business or who is this for? I mean, can anybody get their hands on it or start using it? Or, I mean, they hear about this. I mean, they're excited, light bulb goes off. How do I get started? Is it for me or who is it for?
Absolutely. It's a great point. Yeah, we actually luckily have built the technology in our platform in a way that's suitable for multi tiers business and of various sizes. And so we actually have engaged all the way down to really like your SMB mom and pop type shop. And we have a subscription service that is suitable for them to kind of leverage AI in a way that not only shows ROI, but also in a way that's simple and easy to integrate. And so that's on one side of the extreme. The other side is, yes, we obviously work with some of the largest enterprises in the world at this point, and we have a specific use case or cases that we utilize for those types of corporations. And then honestly, everything in between. So I think the nice part is where we are focused is across most. And I believe that the technology has really lent itself to kind of democratizing that type of use case. And so there doesn't seem to be yet a major barrier to entry despite the size, right, of the organization leveraging it. However, those things quickly change. We've seen that time and time again with the internet, the walled gardens. And so I think time will tell us how long this technology will truly be democratized before some of the big boys take advantage of it.
So you talk about the technology being democratized. So out of all the technologies out there, you looking to the future, what excites you most about technology that's out there today?
I think we got to be really cautious about this. I think the exciting part, and I really hope that we're working on one of the exciting parts. So I'll say what we're working on is very interesting. And even before we jumped on today, you mentioned like this is interesting. I could see like a ton of different use case, but it's also kind of scary, right? That someone can kind of go out and clone me. And so I think what excites me most is the positive potential of this technology to have on society. I'll give you an example of like one of the things that we are attempting to tackle over time, and that is there is a 95% fail rate of new products brought to market. And again, them just simply not being successful. And so if you think about the amount of waste, right, not only included in that, but also the amount of time wasted from consumers on getting introduced to products that have like, they have no need for, right, or desire for. That's something that AI should certainly be able to solve for. And we're actually actively working on solving for that problem. So that's positive. The flip side of that is simply you could use that same framework and technology for bad, right? Malicious behavior. And so I think some of the things that I'm excited to see, but not if it goes wrong, is something like the election coming up and how generative AI potentially only increases the amount of disinformation out there or increases the ability for X person to sway an election. Those things are like I said, kind of exciting to see what technology can do, but also extremely scary if used in the wrong capacity and in the wrong way.
Right. So even though there's some excitement, also there's a possibility of using it the wrong way. Could you give us some idea? Why should I do this? What benefits an organization by getting involved with generative AI or tapping into a technology such as native AI? What benefits we're going to receive?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think the obvious one for like me being selfish, right? Like, let's just look at it from your and I's lens is like, man, there's a lot to do in a workday and I don't have enough time to do it. And so I think what's exciting for just anyone working anywhere is simply this is going to make you faster. It's going to make your life easier. And you can go spend more time with the family, right? Or doing things you actually enjoy to do, not just this little nitty gritty work, right? That we're all forced to do on a day to day basis. So that's reason number one. And that's just speaking on a man to man, person to person level. I think from kind of a C suite or managerial type role, the thing that should be exciting about this is simply you have quite possibly one of the best growth opportunities that we've ever seen in our lifetime, certainly since the dot-com era, on how this is going to change the shape of your business, how this is going to change the trajectory of that business. And that's actually what's staring at us in the face right now. So I believe from the top down, right? Like this is a no brainer. You have to be engaged in some capacity. And the reward of doing so is tenfold. I could give you stats on how we improve our partner's business, and results of that are working about they're taking projects from months to minutes. So we're talking about market research here, where, like I said, it takes a long time to get people to respond and it takes a long time to draft those final reports. But that is now going from months to minutes, which is insane. Give you an idea of the time saved. And then on top of that, you're talking about cost efficiency. So we are expensive beings. And not to say that AI would ever replace us. It's more of a matter of like, what else could we be doing that requires critical human skills that ChatGPT or another Gen AI cannot do? We could be dedicating time there versus these mundane tasks that Gen AI can take care of for us. So I think that's some of that writing on the wall as it pertains to ROI and why people should be doing it.
Right. It's so fascinating. And so, Frank, you provided us with some amazing insights. And so I just been sitting here just scratching my head and see the background you have behind you there. And so I just been wondering if you had an opportunity to take someone to lunch, you can be in the field of AI or whoever or wherever, who would that person be and why?
Great question. I would have to say, I'd like to meet Bill Gates. I feel like Bill Gates would be a fascinating individual. I've heard some good stories and some interesting stories about the man himself. But yeah, I'd love to have a lunch with Bill Gates, sit down, talk about some of the work he's actually on today versus obviously what he's done in the past. And I think that would be my lunch go-to.
And so I just want to remind you before we leave that you have my contact information. You have all that. And so if you ever get invited to a lunch with him, have an opportunity to lunch with Bill Gates, be sure to send me an invite too.
You will get the credit on that one. That's a deal.
All right. So, Frank, it's been a pleasure. I mean, you provide us some amazing insights. You have a truly revolutionary product there. AI is going in all kinds of directions. And so it has been a pleasure and honor to have you on with us today. And so to our listeners, make sure you tune in to our next episode.
Make sure you do it.
How to Grow Using AI, Machine Learning, and Intelligent Automation is brought to you by eClerx. For more information about services and how we can help your business leverage the power of AI and machine learning, visit our website at www.eclerx.com. That's www.eclerx.com. Don't forget to search for How to Grow Using AI, Machine Learning, and Intelligent Automation on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes. On behalf of everyone here at eClerx, thanks for listening.